vodka. It's time to celebrate. The Melbourne Storm choked. Let's have a drink. Fuck yeah, boys.
He's from Australia.
Get over. Yeah. That's totally overpaid wanker. Why the fuck would you go short? You stupid cunt. Yeah! Woo! Cowboys win! Yeah! Yeah! Here we go! Drink water! Holmes! Yeah! Guys, subscribe to the channel. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah! The Cowboys win it! Woo! Here we go! We are live! Oh, how are we, lads? Righto. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Welcome to the Rugby League Breakdown podcast. I do apologise if I just blew everyone's ears out, but I'm fucking pumped. I can see Sam and Chambers' ears are probably fucking gone up. Everyone's ears are fucked, I'm telling you. Everyone needs to go to the doctor tomorrow. Day off work. Anyway, welcome to the Rugby League Breakdown podcast, episode number 32, the final podcast of the 2021 campaign. 2022 is going to be a big, exciting year. It's going to be bigger than 2021, I guarantee you that. But as always, tonight, I am joined by ProEnzo Vidz, Sam REVILL, and special guest, All Out CHAMPA. ProEnzo Vidz, how the hell are you, bro?
Yeah, good, bro. I think we've come a long way with this podcast, the whole year. Can't believe it's the final one already. So, let's make it a good one. I'd like to welcome All Out podcast as well. Good to have him as a special guest. So, looking forward to it.
It's good to have him on. And Sam, mate, you've become a very popular figure on YouTube as of late, and throughout the year, mate, you've become a very good addition to the podcast, mate. How are you going?
Thank you, good sir. Happy holidays to you, ProEnzo, Vidz, CHAMPA, everybody in the chat. It's been a nice couple of days, and thank you very much for the nice compliment, mate. It's been a while since I've shown my face on YouTube, and I can't wait to get stuck into it with all you boys, for sure.
I mean, happy holidays is nice and all, but for me, it's been happy paying the holidays. Might be the better way to go with me. I don't need to get into that, but you all know what I mean by that. But All Out CHAMPA, mate, it's good to have you on as a special guest. You've been on the channel plenty of times, whether it be the podcast or a late night show or whatever it might be. Mate, it's good to have you on as always. How you going?
Just having some connection issues right now.
You'll be right, mate. We can hear you loud and clear. All Out CHAMPA. Don't tell me the Tigers are going this bad. You're joking. All Out CHAMPA. Say a word, my brother.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, we can hear you, bro. How you going, bro? What's been happening?
Everyone. Sorry, I just had a bit of connection.
All good. Yeah, go on. What were you saying, mate? How you going, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, guys. Thanks for having me on the show, and it's going to be a good one.
Well, it's good to have you on, bro. I don't know why the connection was a bit laggy there, but I'm sure we can fix that up. Just give me a sec. Here we go. We'll do this, and we'll do that. Oh, fuck. Oh, there we go. There we go. He's back. All right, we're all good. Anyway, if you guys are new to the channel around here, make sure you guys go ahead and like this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. All our Champa's had an internet problem, so we'll get him back on in just a sec. CJ Moxley reckons it's the AirPods. I've got no idea, but we'll figure that out. But until then, if you're new to the channel, guys, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It's much appreciated. Also, I want you guys to go and check out the YouTube channel of ProEnzo Vidz, Sam REVILL, and All Out CHAMPA. Their links to their channels are in the description below as well. And also, guys, I want to give a big thank you to Manscaped once again for sponsoring the video. Guys, the Lawnmower 4.0, it's a great shaver for your balls. It has new skin-safe technology, so you don't nick your balls. The package comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, the ball deodorant, the ball toner, and other great stuff for the month of December. So, guys, go and check out manscaped.com. The discount code is right there on the screen, NFA. That is the discount code for Manscaped. If you're going to go buy something on Manscaped, you get a discount code with this discount code as NFA. But All That Chamber's having a couple of internet problems. We'll get him back on once he's sorted that out. But let's get into the show. Sam and ProEnzo Vidz. Let's rip in, I reckon. Let's rip in. And we're going to start off with topic number 5, which is one we spoke about in the green room before we came on to air. Now, we know in 2021, the NRL had a lot of rules that were confusing for the fans, and a lot of people weren't happy with some of the rules and how it went about. And some of the rules are okay, but maybe they just need to be fixed up a little bit. But the topic is, what is one rule the NRL need to fix up for the 2022 NRL season? I'm going to start with you, ProEnzo Vidz. Mate, what is one NRL rule for 2022 that you think needs to be fixed?
Oh, look, heaps of people have already talked about it, and you know, I don't blame them for having hate towards this rule as well. And for me, that's the 6 again rules. I think that's the one rule that I want to be gone from the game. And also, yeah, that's one thing I want the NRL to look into and fix as well, because I think that, you know, we've already seen the results of the 6 again. It's like it's caused so much injuries to, you know, so many players from each clubs, and I just think it's unhealthy for the game actually having that as well. So that's what I would change.
Well said, bro. Look, I think the 6 again rule's got a lot of issues. It's got some good things about it as well. But here's the thing, right? With the 6 again, what I don't like about it is when the attacking team has 2 or 3 in a row on their line, and players give away deliberate penalties now, and if they do, they go to the sin bin or whatever. If they do it 2 or 3 times in a row, they go to the sin bin because they call it deliberately and slowing down the game. But the 6 again rule, man, it's such a big advantage for the attacking team. It gives the defensive team absolutely no chance to recover. It makes it impossible. I'd rather see about 12 penalties in a game, or 15 penalties, than see 6 again over and over again. It's just, I agree with you. I think it's unhealthy for the game. Sam, what are your thoughts on the 6 again rule? Should they keep it? Should they maybe update it a little bit? Maybe make it a bit more common sense for the fans, or would you get rid of it in general?
No, I respectfully disagree. I do not think it's perfect, but I do think it does have a place in the game. Whether or not more penalties or 6 against need to be blown inside opposition halves or down in defensive 20-meter attacking zones remains to be seen. But I think it does have a place in the game, but it's not perfect. It needs to be tinkered with a little bit more.
How would you fix it? Would you maybe make the penalties a bit more harsh for 6 again, or what would you do to tweak the rule to make it better for the game?
Well, for example, there was some big hullabaloo about teams that are trying to get out of their own defensive 20-meter or 30-meter zone, and they're only getting 6 again calls for them. They're not sort of gaining an advantage out of it. It's actually the defensive teams that actually are mucking around with the rules, and I think what is actually happening from next year is that penalties just will be blown. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening, is that 6 against when you're trying to get out of your own half, there won't be any 6 against. It'll just be a flat out penalty, which is what I like. And
that makes more sense, yeah.
And it eliminates more 6 against as well. So, and what you do in 20-meter attacking try line zones remains to be seen as well, man. It's not perfect, but I do think it has a place in the game. It just needs to be tinkered with.
Completely understand, and I think with the 6 again as well, it's got plenty of issues. I think the NRL's gone so far with this with the 6 again rule now. I don't think they will get rid of it. I think the 6 again rule is here to stay. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I've never really liked the 6 again. When it first came in, I gave it a week and a half, and then after that, I went, well, get rid of it. Get rid of it. I remember the first game it was introduced when it was Broncos and Eels when the season shut down for 6 weeks, and then they came back and then they introduced it 2 weeks before the season started, which no team was ever going to get used to it. I think the 6 again rule probably has to stay in the game now unless they do scrap it off. But I'm with you. I think if a team is trying to get out of their own goal and they can't get out, I think maybe a penalty instead might be the way to go. That's not a bad idea as well. All that Champa, are you there, my brother?
I'm here. I am so sorry. My phone.
It's all good, bro. It's all good. You were next anyway. We're about to ask you about this, about the 6 again rule. Would you get rid of the 6 again rule in general, or would you maybe fix it a little bit and try and make it a bit more easier for the game? What would you do for the 6 again rule?
Look, I do feel like the 6 again rule has to stay. It is a very useful rule for teams who want to keep the momentum going and not to stop the play altogether. But I think overuse of the rule needs to change. We're seeing too much 6 again rules and seeing teams get constantly 6 again, 6 again, 6 again. And they some teams even get it 3 times in a row. And it's just too much for the defensive side. So I reckon just keep the whistle in your pocket. Not just that, but just maybe just not overuse the rule. That's basically what I can say. It does have a place in the game, but it doesn't mean you constantly use it all the time when there's a ruck infringement or someone's offside or shit like that.
Well, see, here's the thing as well that I find very interesting about the 6 again rule. If you watch a game of Super League, for example, the 6 again rule does apply over there as well, but it isn't overused like it is over here. In the NRL, you might get some games where there's 5 6 agains, maybe 8 6 agains. In the Super League, you might see maybe 2 or 3 a game where they let the game flow. And as the great Andrew John says all the time on Channel 9, hashtag let the game flow. We need the game to flow. Let the players decide the game. If you have a game where it's like 8 to 12 6 against, teams get frustrated. There's no fatigue. Everyone's fucked. And it just doesn't make the game look good. I think if you let the game flow, use more penalties, I think would be a better way to go as well. And the 6 again rule definitely needs to be looked at going into next year. Sam, what is the one NRL rule that you would like to see get fixed up for next year, mate?
Yeah, I personally would be looking at the forward pass rulings in try scoring situations. I would guesstimate that approximately 15 or 20 forward passes were thrown that led to a try in season 2021. Half of those, maybe even 3/4 of those, were blatant, and I think could easily be ruled on in the video referee box. Take, for example, the Cowboys try that they scored against the Melbourne Storm in round 19. That was 50 metres forward pass.
Oh, that was fine. That was all good. It was against Melbourne. It's all good.
Yeah, no, actually, you're right. Yeah. But in situations like that where rugby union are already, they don't even have the technology, but they're already ruling on forward passes in the TMOs and whatnot over there in rugby. So why can't we, and why can just the average fan? Well, we're pretty smart for ourselves, but we can see when a forward pass has been thrown, and you've got these referees sitting in the bunker. They just miss it, or they just can't rule on it when it's so blatantly obvious, and it's costing teams 2 points when they lose. So that would be the rule that I look at. Forward passes in try scoring situations, not midfield stuff. That's when that's just too much pressure on the referees there. But forward passes in try scoring situations is what I'd look at.
What do you reckon about that, Lorenzo? Do you agree with Sam, or do you disagree?
No, yeah, I agree. I think that's something that we should definitely, or the NRL should say, look into. Because because there has been heaps of games that, I guess we've all seen where, they've accidentally ruled it wrongly. And so, again, I think that sort of technology being brought into the game would definitely benefit in many ways, and would help, I guess, as well with the referees and making the decision of a forward pass much easier to call. So I back that 100%.
This is where me and Sam are going to disagree. I don't want to see it. I do not want to see more technology introduced with a forward pass system. I don't know how many times this year where they went to the bunker and they still got it wrong, even though we all know that there were some tries this year that were clear tries, but then we went to the bunker and they still fucked it up. And all the technology in the technology in the world to get it right, they always seem to get most of it wrong. I don't want to see a forward pass fucking thing introduced where if someone scores a try and the pass is flat, then we're going to go to the bunker and they're going to check if it's a forward pass, and then you're going to have to clarify what is a forward pass to some people, what's a flat pass, what's a hospital pass. People are going to get confused. It's going to cause chaos. I don't think it should happen. That's just what I think. I know there's the Kane Bradley one against the Storm. I know that was blatantly forward, and I agree with that. But here's the thing. If we're going to bring in forward passes to be viewed by the referees, and then if that happens, the touch judges are pretty much fucking useless. They're out of a job. They're pretty much out of it. They're pretty much fucking statues anyway. The touch judges, they're fucked. They're hopeless. But if we bring in this technology where we go to the bunker and we check out for forward passes, the touch judges are going to be out of a job, and we're going to have more drama. It'll be like the obstruction rule. It'll just be more chaos. So I don't agree with Sam on this one. I'm disagreeing. I don't want to see it. All that CHAMPA. What about you, mate? Should the NRL take forward passes to tries a bit more serious? Should we go to the bunker for a forward pass if there's a situation like that?
Look, I understand both sides. There are a lot of teams are getting screwed because of this one rule. And, technology in the game, most say would be ruining the game. If I had to choose a side, I would have to go with you, Nick. I feel like technology is just getting a bit too much within the game. And like you said, you gotta try and figure out what is a forward pass. Is it something that looks really flat that you can call 50-50 calls? But Sam, I do understand what you're getting at. There is with a forward pass and tries that there does need to be something looked into that. But I think it just all comes down to the touch judges. They just need to do their job. So I would probably keep technology away as much as we can. That's my opinion, and I feel like the ruling right now is fine.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Rugby league has always been a better sport without the technology, or a better game without the technology. But I understand nowadays we need technology because the NRL would go broke without it, to be honest. I mean, if the bunker costs them a fortune, the bunker's supposed to be making the NRL a lot of profit, which I find very hard to believe. But all that CHAMPA, mate, what's the one rule that you reckon the NRL should look at next year that needs to be fixed up a little bit?
Yeah, one rule I chose in particular, and quite honestly, I think it's probably one of the most useless rules we have, and that's the 18th man. Now, for the 18th man to be eligible to run on the field, there needs to be 3 HIA on the field. Basically, where the player comes off due to a concussion and he can't come back on. So you're telling me if 3 players on the field break their leg or break their arm or knocked out completely and they can't come back on the field, we can't use the 18th man? It's only for HIAs?
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand that one bit. I feel like the 18th man should have never been there in the first place. I feel like it's one of the most useless rules, and it gives false hope to that 18th man, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to jump on and I'm going to jump on and I'm going to play," and he's probably hoping, "Oh, I hope 3 plays get HIA so I can jump on." It's ridiculous, I feel like that rule should just be gone altogether.
I've said this before, champion. I'm going to add to what you're saying about the 18th man. If they're so worried about players getting injured and the game being so quick, increase the interchanges. Go back to 10 interchanges. 8 interchanges isn't even enough. I mean, fuck me. If you play Rugby Live 4, for example, you use 8 interchanges, you probably use them all up by the 60th minute mark. I mean, why not go back to 10 interchanges? And I did hear the NRL talk about, we're talking about going 6 interchanges. That'll just fuck the game even more. So the 18th man, I think it is pretty useless if it's just going to be for concussions. It should be more than that, I reckon. ProEnzo Vidz, what do you think about the 18th man?
Yeah, look, I don't see. Look, I see it as a problem. I do. Like, I think it does become a bit worthless at times because, I think what CHAMPA and you said, Nick, was probably the best reasoning with the whole 18th man thing. But just to make, I guess, you wouldn't really need it, to be honest. I think, ever since it got introduced, it hasn't been really needed, I suppose, in some games. So, I wouldn't really consider it.
It's been very confusing as well. The Warriors and Fnatic in the chat said it just right. 18th man rule is quite confusing. It is very confusing. I mean, there's some games where I'm going, okay, he's got a concussion, he's pulled his hamstring. 18th man can come on. Oh no, they can't come on. I'm like, what? So the players are down to 14 men, but you can't use 18th man. It's so confusing. Sam, what do you think about this 18th man stuff?
I personally like the brutality of it. So what I mean by that is if the opposition team is intense enough, fierce enough to knock your players out legally within the game and you lose players because of that, I don't think... I've never been a fan of the 18th man. I like it if a player's been knocked out or broken a leg or anything, don't activate an 18th man. Bring in a little bit more fatigue. So no, I don't like the 18th man at all. I like the brutality. If a team can get an advantage out of it by being just better and more fierce than the opposition, then more power to them.
I reckon if 2 players get injured, then they should use the 18th man. I know that sounds a bit weak and a bit soft, and it's useless having the 18th man anyway. I think if they're going to use it, I think it should be for if a team loses 2 or more players to an injury, whether it be a hamstring or a rolled ankle or a concussion or whatever it might be, then they should be able to use the 18th man because at the moment it's useless. But I want to see the interchange get increased to 10 because if a player gets injured, then you can rotate more players off the bench. And you're like, okay, this guy got given 15 minutes. We lost a player. We can get him back on. We don't have to worry about our interchanges because we all know the free interchange one where the player gets injured and goes off. We all know that interchange thing's a massive confusion as well. So 18th man definitely needs to be looked at going into 2022. The rule that I want to see get fixed up for 2022 is a rule that will give everyone a fucking headache. And that is the obstruction rule. My God. Now, I'm going to explain the obstruction rule as best as I can to everyone so that everyone can sort of understand. So, the obstruction rule, this is how it works. So, basically, you got a halfback on the right-hand side of the field. So, you got the halfback, the back rower, and the center. For example, right? The halfback goes at the line. If the back rower goes through the line as a decoy runner, if he contacts the defending player and the pass from the halfback goes to the center and he scores, if the decoy runner has contacted the defender, then that will be called for an obstruction, whether it be a flop or not. Decoy runner makes contact, it's automatic, no try. But here's the problem with the obstruction rule. If a halfback throws the ball the halfback throws the ball, the back rower goes for the decoy runner, doesn't touch any defenders, but if the fullback or the center catches the ball on the inside of the shoulder of the decoy runner, but there's no impact on the play, that is still a no try. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't make any fucking sense to me whatsoever. If the decoy runner goes through the line and the fullback or the center who's on the outside catches the ball, whether it be inside or outside, it should not be an obstruction, no matter what. It should not be an obstruction. I know it's going to give you guys a fucking headache and a half, and I already know it already is for some of you, but Sam, should the obstruction rule be fucking looked at?
Always, mate. I thought that they found a little bit of consistency in the obstruction ruling. Sort of, yes. Once that player was caught on the inside shoulder of the decoy, that was just an automatic no try. So it removes a little bit. Removes a little bit of grey area, but unfortunately, I think we're gonna come to a point, unfortunately, where if common sense just won't be able to be injected into the scenario where, look, this player X probably wouldn't have even made it to stop that try from being scored. But the ruling is that if the person catches it on the inside shoulder, it's just automatically going to be red flagged. So unfortunately, I think we're going to come to a point where the bunker just won't be allowed to use some sort of common sense. I know that sounds really weird, and it's going to give everyone a headache as well. But yeah, I think we're going to get to that point in the bunker life where, you know, he could have been stopped. He was probably never going to get there, but because something else happened earlier in the play, it has to be red flagged. I hope that made sense.
Well, I guess the other thing as well, I mean, we all know what a shepherd is. If it's a shepherd, it's a shepherd.
Right.
Then no try.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? This is the one that shits me off the most. Halfback gets the ball on the right side, throws it out to the fullback. The back row is the decoy run. He goes through. If the fullback caught it on the inside just a tiny bit, but he keeps his run on the outside, goes to the center and the winger, and they score, it should be a try. I don't give a fuck if the defender is 5 meters away. The defender was never going to get there. He had a chance. He fell for the decoy runner. That's his own fault. That should be his own fault. But no, if the decoy runner goes through and the fullback catches it on the inside, but then they go ahead and score anyway, and it's just bullshit. It needs to be looked at really bad. ProEnzo Vidz, how do you fix the obstruction rule, bro? Do you agree with what I said, or would you go in a different direction with the obstruction rule?
Yeah, unfortunately, I find it very confusing. Like, I find it hard to put a finger on where to start with the whole thing, actually. Yeah, look, I think I've said a couple of times as well, like in games, you know, it's the fans want to, I guess for the fans as well, it should be a bit more easier when it comes to the answer to this sort of thing, because, you know, half the time, I guess, when I've seen obstruction stuff happen, you know, I've kind of been lost myself. Like, I'm like, you know, confused with the whole thing in general. But yeah, look, I think just it needs to be fixed. Like, I think that's something that the NRL needs to kind of make it easier to understand for everyone else. So yeah, like, I think what Sam said there was you know, a good point, and so was you, Nick. I think that was all fair. So yeah, needs a lot of fixing, I reckon, the obstruction rule.
What about you, all that, CHAMPA? Now, you play rugby league on the weekends, don't you, as a back rower? So you know what I'm talking about with the decoys and the inside-outside shoulder. Mate, how would you fix this obstruction rule chaos?
Well, you know, what you said about that example you give about how wrong the rule is, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that as well. It's so confusing and it's such a mess that it just doesn't make sense. I feel like that whole example of the rule, it just needs to just go, because it doesn't make sense. There's no way it's an obstruction. I feel like I just feel like the rule there needs to be a change, and then it needs to be looked at better. I completely agree with you on that it's just a whole confusing mess. It's still giving me a headache to wrap around it.
Yeah,
and,
it's hard to
yeah,
it's hard to discuss.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I want to point out as well with the obstruction rules, when a decoy runner goes through the line, if a defender runs at him and tackles him first and takes a dive, doesn't matter. Play on. Don't take a dive from the obstruction rule. We all know when they're taking a dive, but we see it all the time now. Greg Bird used to be really good at it when he was playing in the NRL. Greg Bird used to take all those dives all the time. He used to be really good at it. Nowadays, you see it a lot now. I think anything on the outside shoulder should be play on. Inside shoulder should be playing on as well, as long as there's no fucking, no bullshit about. It gives you a headache at all. It gives us a huge headache. But I think one thing's for sure is the obstruction rule definitely needs to be fixed going into 2022. Otherwise, we're going to have games where, who knows, it could be 24-20. There could be 10 seconds to go. There could be a try in the corner. The back row might go through the line, and the defending team might take a dive, and a fair try goes over in the corner, and we call back for a no try, and that might happen. It did happen a lot this year. I remember that Tigers and Sharks game at the back end of the year where it was like a Sharks 50-20 or something. There was a couple of, I think the Tigers were robbed of the try there of an obstruction, and I'm going, what the fuck? There's nothing wrong with it. So we all know the obstruction rule needs to be looked at next year, and it's just chaos at the moment. So let's hope it gets fixed. Hopefully someone goes in there with common sense. All right, so let's move on from the NRL rules that need to be looked at. Let's move on to topic number 4. The Dolphins. Let's talk about the Dolphins a little bit here. The Dolphins. Are they buying the right players so far? Apparently, Blake Austin is now on their radar. Blake Austin plays for the Leeds Rhinos now over in the Super League. Apparently, Wayne Bennett's looking at Blake Austin. This report could also be a load of bullshit. It could be the real thing. I don't know. I guess we'll find out very soon. But I want to start with you all that, CHAMPA, because this is something that you wanted to talk about. Are the Dolphins buying the right players so far, or do you think they're going in a direction that isn't good for them so far? What do you think about this, mate? The Dolphins.
But before I discuss that, I'll name the 4 players that have already been announced and signed for them. So their first signing was Felice Kafusi, and their second one was one of their rookies. I'm pretty sure. I'm not too sure about that. Yeah. And then it was Ray Stone, and then recently it was Jermaine Osako, and now everyone's saying that Blake Austin's on their radar. Well, Blake Austin should have been the first one on their radar in the first place. They should have got their spine intact before they started thinking about any other players. Because here's the thing. You want to build a good team, it all starts with a spine. It all starts with your fullback, your 2 halves, and your hooker. You build around that side, you're going to get a good team. That should have been their first thing when they thought about signing players. But no, they decided their first signing was going to be Felice Kafusi, a player that is on the back end of his career and, in my opinion, was never good to begin with. And that was their first signing, their first major signing. Terrible. Players like Jermaine Osako, players like Blake Austin, they should have been their first signings. They should have got their spine intact before they started signing anyone else. So in terms of what I think about their signings so far, I feel like it's terrible. I feel like they should have thought about their halfbacks, their fullback, and their hooker before they started signing anyone else. And well, that's just my opinion.
I still believe that the Dolphins their first signing should have been someone like a Kalen Ponga or something. That should have been or someone to that caliber, someone really good. But they went out and bought Kafusi again. Average player who's in the Melbourne system and looks good in the Melbourne side. Ray Stone would never be in the Eels starting team if they were at full strength. Osako, he's on the adder at Brisbane. He'd be lucky to be in the Broncos 17. I'm with you, CHAMPA, bro. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing so far. I get it. They're probably going to wait a bit longer and buy someone big, but I'm with you. They should be looking at the spine first, not looking at guys that are getting older and guys that are probably no better than backup players at NRL club level. So I'm with you on with you on that one, bro. What about you, Sam? What have you made about the Dolphin signing so far?
Not terribly impressive, hey, and it might be a bit unfair to compare, but you think about what the Gold Coast Titans did. They signed Luke Bailey and Scott Prince right up straight away. Preston Campbell as well. So they really hit the ground running in that regard. And when you compare it to the Redcliffe Dolphins, man, it just sort of, I don't know, so far they've just sort of picked up dregs with all due respect to the players as well. But yeah, Wayne Bennett, man, he's still got so much time left. But no, I'm not terribly impressed by the signings that they've made, mate.
Well, so far it's been disappointing. I'm with you on that one. ProEnzo, Vidz, what have you made about the Dolphin signing so far? And who's one player that they should go and buy?
Yeah, look, I'd agree. I think their signings could have been a lot better than what they were. I think, they could have recruited heaps better players and currently they've got. Yeah, look, to me, I think give them time. I say, because they've got a whole season to sort of build, and I think Wayne's gonna eventually buy more quality players than what we've got coming in 2023. So give it time, I suppose. But yeah, right now I'm not too impressed either. One player that they should buy, though, I've said before as well, I think Ponga is the guy that they should target.
Yep.
And I believe he will actually go there. That's a prediction I'm making. It's a bold prediction, but I reckon the talk is they've already sort of proposed a deal. Like I think they've it's reportedly it's been said that they're going to offer him $1 million contract. So, I guess we'll wait and see if that's actually true. That's just what I've heard, from sources and that. But yeah, I think Ponga is the one that should sign. I think he's a quality player. He's a Queenslander. He's worked with Bennett before, I'm pretty sure, with the Maroons. So, yeah, Ponga for me is the one that should sign.
Definitely.
Sounds good. I reckon Kalen Ponga would be the perfect buy as well. But here's the thing. Kalen Ponga is the face of the Newcastle Knights. Do you want to be the face of the Knights or do you want to be the face of a new team? That's the question. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. But the Dolphins signing so far, I'd probably give them like a 3 out of 10. It's been quite disappointing, but I'm telling you right now, we're all bagging it right now. In about 6 months' time, we'll all be praising it because they'll be buying some other players and better players. So I'm really intrigued to see who they buy. I'm really intrigued to see who they go out and sign. But the Dolphins will be interesting. But before we move on, do we reckon Blake Austin will go to the Dolphins or do we reckon he'll stay at Leeds? Sam, will Austin go or will he stay in England?
Yes, it's pretty hot off the press sort of thing. So it's kind of hard to ascertain, but I think I can see him coming back home to Australia, bro. And I think he'd do really well under Wayne Bennett too.
I think so as well. All that CHAMPA, Blake Austin, you reckon he'll go back to the NRL or will he stay over in Leeds?
Yeah, I reckon maybe a move to the NRL will be all right if he's comfortable coming back to Australia, which I think he definitely will be. It's a good chance because I'm pretty sure he's in his 30s right now. If I could be wrong on that.
29, 30, yeah. He's still got 4 years in him at least.
Yeah, so 4 years, he can come down to the Dolphins, and maybe the Dolphins has some juniors he can help out with there, and he'll be a great asset to the side. Again, he's a halfback, part of the spine, what they should have been looking at in the first place. So I think the Dolphins might be a good move for him.
What about you, ProEnzo? Should he go to the Dolphins or should he stay in Leeds?
Yeah, he brings experience, I suppose, and if I was him, I would go to the Dolphins. It's a new club. I think with his experience, he'd be good for good for the club and some of the young players that come up as well. But for me, I think Austin has always been a steady player for me. Like I haven't really thought he was anything amazing. I thought he was a steady sort of player who did a job and was always there. But I think he'd be good enough for the Dolphins. I think that's an all right signing. So I'd back it if it was to happen.
Well, but back in 2016 to 2017, he was almost in the New South Wales State of Origin side. It was very close to being the 5'8" for New South Wales back then. But I reckon he'll stay at Leeds. I just got a feeling he's not going to go back. I just got this weird feeling because he's playing with Aiden season now at Leeds. Over at Leeds. I got a feeling he's going to stay in Leeds. But if he goes back to the NRL, goes to the Dolphins, I think it'll be a great career move for Blake Austin if he does go back. So looking forward to seeing what happens there with Blake Austin. But let's move on to topic number 3. Now, this is something that I'm really passionate about, and this needs to happen. What does the NRL need to do to fix international footy? We all know it's a mess. The last international footy game that happened was about back in November, early November, I believe it was, England versus France. We haven't seen Australia play since they played Tonga. We haven't seen New Zealand play for a while, same with Samoa and Tonga, Fiji, Papua New Guinea. What does the NRL need to do to fix international footy? I'm going to start with you, Sam. What do they need to do, mate, to fix international footy up?
So much, mate, but what can you do in these unprecedented times? That's the unfortunate thing that they've got to try and work out. I think it was you, ProEnzo, Vidz, that alerted me to the fact that that the Pacific tests weren't going to go ahead next season when I think about 4 weeks ago it was on. They were wanting it to go ahead. And now it's not happening. And yeah, you've got players that are playing in the NRL and whatnot. You still have that experience, but collectively as a unit, as a team, as a nation, mate, to not play, for example, for close to 18 months to 2 years, come June next year, sort of thing. I mean, we've got the World Cup to look forward to next year, right? Let's try and keep that in mind too. We've got the World Cup
Yeah.
to look forward to. But man, Pacific tests and the Anzac Day tests, mate, sorely missed this year. Sorely bloody missed, and they need to. It's not that I want to. I think they need to bring it back, mate, especially how sport deprived New Zealand have been over the past couple of years as well.
I could not agree more. I want to ask you, ProEnzo Vidz, what does the NRL need to do to fix international footy, mate? What do you think they need to do to make it great again?
I guess now with COVID, it's going to disrupt a lot of things, and it's going to make it hard for the international game to be brought back up. But look, if I was to give some examples of how to fix it again, I'd say, make it more essential. I think with the Anzac test with Australia versus New Zealand, that has to happen. I think it's very important for the game on the rugby league calendar or whatever it's called. I think that's, pretty important to bring in every time when there's, every time. Look, I think overall it needs to be in. I think because, it brings the game, I guess it brings fans, from different nations, make it more interesting, I suppose. International games have always been good, like Samoa and Tonga, we've seen that before. It brings good crowds and all that. So I think, it needs to come back soon. It really has to. I mean, the last time we had it was 2019, I think. So it's been a bit too long. So I hope it comes back soon.
I've got a strong opinion on this, and I'll give it in a second, but I want to get all our chambers' opinion first. Mate, what does the NRL need to do to fix international footy, mate?
All right, keeping all the COVID business out of it, I reckon the way that they can build and make it better, the international rugby league, is just like what ProEnzo said. Make it more essential, all right? It needs to be more important. International rugby league needs to be very important in the sport of rugby league, because you look at other sports and how important it is. Say, for instance, football. It's literally as big as any other competition in the world. I reckon they need to make it more essential and make it more of a priority. Like what Sam said, the Pacific Games and the Australian versus New Zealand games, they were heavily missed this year. I mean, I always love watching Samoa play Tonga. That is an essential game that I feel like should happen every year. So in my opinion, I reckon make international footy more of a priority. Make it more important in rugby league.
Mate, I'm with you. And here's the thing, right? We talk about, the pandemic being a massive disruption, which is fair enough. But here's the thing. If the Tokyo Olympics were able to go ahead, then why did the Rugby League World Cup not fucking go ahead this year? Oh,
exactly.
We don't want players to go over there and get the disease. We have to fucking live with it now. That's how it is. Everyone got jabbed. Everyone went and got jabbed. We all did that. Now, let us fucking get on with our fucking sport. Let us get on with what we got to do. Let us enjoy what we do. Let us go fucking watch a game of footy at a fucking capacity crowd. Don't worry about the disease. We're going to live with the fucking piece of shit now. It's how it works. And I've said this before, and I'm happy to say it again. International footy, once upon a time, playing for your country was bigger than playing for your fucking state and state of origin. Once upon a time, playing for Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Scotland, Ireland, France. Once upon a time, that was more important than playing for New South Wales or Queensland. But unfortunately, Origin has took over that, and international footy is basically dead at the moment. If that is, I'm just being honest. It's the truth. And in the start of Origin period, so on the Wednesday, right? You have the Origin on the Wednesday. Well, after Origin's over on the Wednesday, instead of having the players back up from Origin to play NRL on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know what you should do? On the Friday and the Saturday, you have an international fucking fixture on the Friday night. On the Friday night after, so you have Wednesday night, you have the Origin. On the Friday night, you could have a fucking best of three series like the Origin. On the Friday night, you could have fucking New Zealand versus Fiji. You can make it a big fucking deal. You can have a big game, big crowd, New Zealand versus Fiji, say Light Card Oval or something like that. And on the Saturday night, you can have it at, I don't know, Seabus or fucking wherever you want to have it. Have it at Bankwest, whatever. On the Saturday night, you can have Samoa versus Tonga. So you have the Origin on the Wednesday, game 1, Origin, and then Friday, New Zealand, Fiji, and on the Saturday, Tonga versus Samoa. And then in 2 weeks' time, you do it again. And then game 3, you do it again. You build a best-of-3 series between New Zealand and Fiji and Tonga versus Samoa. I guess you're going to have Papua New Guinea play someone as well. Whoever they play, I don't even know who the fuck will be available, but you can get some fucking nation to come over. It would be the best way to do it. International footy can grow. You can build a couple of rivalries. Tonga versus Samoa is already a big rivalry, as we all know. I think that would be the best way to grow the game. Obviously, we've got the World Cup to look forward to next year, which is going to be great. But hey, the World Cup better go ahead, because here's the thing. If they were able to have the fucking Tokyo Olympics and everyone got jabbed, there's no reason why the World Cup can't go ahead again next year. So
Exactly.
what do you guys think about my idea? So you have Origin on the Wednesday, and then after Origin 1, on the Friday night, you can have New Zealand versus Fiji, best-of-3 series, and on the Saturday, you can have Tonga versus Samoa on the Saturday. And you can do that every second or third week after Origin. You can do it straight after it on the Friday and Saturday. Is that a good way to build international footy up? What do you guys reckon?
I think it's a great way to build international footy. It makes it just as important as Origin. You're giving it a best-of-3 series. It's what the game needs. It's what International Rugby League needs. Like you said, there was a time when International Rugby League was more important than playing for State of Origin. And I feel like with something like this, it could bring a status of playing International Rugby League for your country back as being as big as Origin or even bigger. And I think it will give players more of a chance to, play for their countries. And I think it's a great idea. Absolutely amazing.
It would also give the NRL Origin players a bit of a fucking rest instead of having to worry about backing up from Origin all the time. It'd give them a fucking rest, They play on the Wednesday and they wouldn't have to play to the week after then because, international footy on the weekend. The best way to do it. Sam, what do you reckon?
So are you sort of saying also at the same time that when these international fixtures and State of Origin fixtures happen on the same weekend, that the split rounds of NRL stop? So the NRL competition stops for collectively 3 weeks, and you'd be down for that?
Why not? We need international footy to go ahead. It needs to happen. I think it'd be great for the game.
Yeah, I think there needs to be more incentive like that to represent your country for the players as well. And I just want to also say that, I'm microscopically fearing about the quality of the World Cup coming next year. I'm going to be looking forward to it so much when the time does come around. But teams like Papua New Guinea, Samoa and Tonga, for example, they haven't played together for so long, and they're professional athletes and they'll come out firing, come out high water. But when round 1 comes around next season for the World Cup, how rusty are these teams going to be? What's the quality going to be like? And that's why it's so important, and why I was so disappointed to learn that there was not going to be any, at the moment, internationals happening next year on the rugby league calendar. These players need it, and so do the fans of their country as well, like in Papua New Guinea, for example.
What I just said, it might not work. It might not even work out the way that I would like to see it happen. But it's worth a fucking crack. It really is.
But I love the idea, mate. I really do.
It's worth a crack. I've spent long and hard on this. I want it to happen. It needs to happen. I'm just so sick and tired of having to watch a game, say round 12, and you got players backing up from Origin. They're fucking fatigued. And then we get to the final series, and the gun players, the guys from Origin, they have nothing left. They're all burned out. They're all fucked. I think it'd be a great way to give the Origin players a rest. It'd give the NRL players a rest. The game's that quick at the moment. We need a little bit of a stop here and there, and it'd make the season go longer as well. I think it'd be the best way to go. I think it'd be fucking awesome for the game. So, ProEnzo Vidz, what do you think about my idea?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that's a great idea. I can't see any issues with it. I guess what I could say as a possible issues with COVID and just how the whole thing gets set up. But again, I think that's the perfect way that you said it, Nick. I think that the idea is definitely worth looking into, and I back it. I do. So And I think, yeah, at the same time, I guess, the NRL should realise that, international rugby league is important, and I think it needs to come back eventually. And yeah, obviously we have to live through COVID, and I think, yeah, bring it back, and it's going to be good, because I think having it around that May, April, or whenever it is, May, June, around that time where it's on, I think that's definitely where it's the international game should come in. So yeah, I agree. That's when it should definitely.
You know
be
what?
in.
I'm going to send a fucking email to Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo. They need to hear this. I'm going to send them an email. I'm going to video. I'm going to edit that clip out later, and I'm going to send that to V'landys and Abdo. They need to have a look at what some of the fans are fucking saying. They need to listen to the people. And I reckon the people want to see that. People want to see it. Can you imagine Leichhardt Oval for 2 days, or Bank West, if they had Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, and New Zealand all in the one ground? Can you imagine the atmosphere? It would be fucking awesome. It would be amazing. It would sell out. People would come from everywhere. It'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah,
It'd
no,
be amazing.
it would, mate. And you'd have some players out there, or so not players. You'd have some fans out there saying things like, "Oh, but I still want to have, with the NRL competition. I miss it so much, But no, I don't want to watch teams that have been depleted by state of origin.
Yeah, mate.
And the quality of games that you're going to get in a test match between New Zealand, Fiji, and Tonga and Samoa, man, it's going to be brilliant, bro. For sure, dude.
Yeah, it needs to happen. I mean, for example, right? I don't want to watch a game between the fucking Roosters and the Storm, who have got half of their Origin players out, all the backing up from Origin, and they're tired. I'd rather watch Tonga versus Samoa at full strength, where you're going to get the gun players. You're going to get a great game of footy. I don't want to watch the Roosters without Tedesco, Keary, fucking Crichton and Radley and Melbourne, who have got no Olam, Munster, Pappenhausen, and fucking whoever else is there. I want to see everyone at full strength. I don't want to see teams buggered.
And also like teams like Manly, ProEnzo, when they hosted Canberra back earlier this season, man, they were Origin depleted. Canberra weren't, because they were going like bastards. But Raiders feasted on a depleted Manly side and cost Manly 2 competition points as well, man. So I'm not a fan of these split rounds, bro. I'd much rather pack in 3 weeks of international footy, bro. That sounds fucking tremendous.
Yeah, exactly. I have to agree
Definitely.
with that.
All right. Well, let's hope that that maybe in the future that it could happen, because that is one way to fix up international footy. One way to go about it. Anyway, let's move on to topic number 2. The World Club Challenge. It's in doubt. I think it's pretty much a write-off now, according to the Panthers COO, Brian Fletcher. The World Club Challenge is in doubt. I think this is pathetic. The Panthers took no fucking effort at this whatsoever. The Panthers offered St. Helens to come over, had the World Club Challenge at Penrith. They offered him to do it. St. Helens was sort of keen. They were sort of figuring out if it was going to work out. And then Penrith just went, nah, well, fuck it then. We're not going to do it. This is disappointing for me. I was hoping the World Club Challenge would go ahead. This is another thing that needs to be looked at. But it's been a mess for a while now. The last World Club Challenge that happened, I believe, was 2019. Oh, actually, it might have been the start of 2020. Roosters and fucking Saints or something. World Club Challenge is in doubt. Do we need to see more NRL versus Super League fixtures? I think it would be good for the game if we had more of that. If you remember a couple of years ago, Hull FC came over to Australia to play. I think they played the Dragons. I believe Warrington came over. There was a couple of NRL games, NRL versus Super League matches. I think we need to see more of this in the game. What do you reckon, ProEnzo Vidz?
We have to, yeah. I think it has to come back. I mean, I've missed it. I missed it heaps because I love watching those sort of games happen late in the year. It was really good, and I guess it kind of has like the top NRL teams versus the top English teams. Like it's something that brings a lot. It's a lot of competition, and it was good to view. I think a lot of reports when it last happened was positive, and see with my team, St. Helens, for example, they were going to play the Panthers, and who knows if that happens now? You know, I hope it happens because
It won't happen
obviously,
now, I'll tell you that much.
yeah, unfortunately, it won't. But I hope it does. But yeah, like it's unlikely because the Panthers are just being arrogant pricks at the moment. So yeah, look, I really miss it a lot. So I would definitely want to see more of that happen soon.
Just really disappointing. All that CHAMPA, mate. What do you reckon about this? Should the NRL and the Super League have more fixtures every now and then? Like maybe once a year they could have a game. You could have the World Club Challenge, and then you could have maybe 2 other fixtures, like, I don't know, Warrington versus Souths or something, or Catalan Dragons versus Melbourne, or Leeds versus fucking Manly or something. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I feel like we need to see more of that. And people need to stop saying that the Super League teams don't stand a chance against the NRL teams. They do, all right? Yes, we've seen fixtures in the past where the Super League teams have got smashed, but guess what? So have we with the NRL sides. We've seen many NRL sides get beaten by Super League teams. My team, the West Tigers, they got beaten by a Super League team when they went over in 2005 or 6, whenever it was. I feel like there needs to be more fixtures with the Super League sides and the NRL sides because it creates more variety. It expands the game, which is what we want. And we always talk about like certain Super League players, or how will they be against NRL or against NRL sides, or we're thinking to ourselves, oh, what about Ryan Pappenhausen or James Tedesco or Tom Trbojevic? How could he handle the players in the Super League? Well, with fixtures like this, we can see those dream fixtures. We can see those dream matchups. There needs to be more of it. I don't know what the Panthers are thinking or what they're doing, but there needs to be more of these kind of fixtures. Super League teams are just as good as NRL teams.
I think teams like St. Helens, teams like Catalans, teams like Leeds and Warrington over here would be very good as well. I think Saints at the moment, they've won the last 3 Super League grand finals. They would last over here. They would be a top 4 side over here. They'd be very good over here. They're a quality team, quality roster. They've got a really good side. They would do really well over here. We try to everyone tries to compare it all the time, but you can't really compare it if you don't watch the Super League. If you don't watch the Super League, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You generally have no idea. I want to see more Super League fixtures, NRL Super League fixtures. And I think Saints versus Penrith would have been great. And it would have been good as well because Penrith would have had no Nathan Cleary, which would have gave Saints a big chance. I think Saints a big chance either way. But without Cleary, Saints probably would have been a really good chance to beat Penrith. But the game's not going to happen now because we all know it's not going to go ahead. But obviously, the NRL is obviously the number 1 competition, and it is the best. But the Super League isn't a long way behind. Like people think. If you don't watch it, you don't really know what you're talking about. But what about you, Sam? What do you think about this? Should we have more fixtures of the NRL and Super League against each other?
I think Australia needs to grow a pair of bollocks, mate, and let Panthers go overseas and fight St. Helens. Let them quarantine. Make sure Panthers are doing everything right to make sure that the game goes ahead because we're seeing international fixtures take place all over the planet except Australia and New Zealand, and it's not making any sense to me anymore. And you mentioned Tokyo just before as well, man. And how I would do it, I'd probably fixture it sort of like the top 4 teams of the NRL of 2022 and the top 4 teams of Super League of 2022. They sort of have like a month-long sort of, I don't know, just a little mini tournament as well in January as like a trial warm-up sort of phase. And on the flip side of that as well, you have the bottom 4 teams of each competition have some sort of mini tournament as well, man. But I'd definitely like to see Super League and NRL inter-promotional matches take place for sure, man.
Definitely, absolutely agree. I just think the disrespect on the Super League is a bit ridiculous. I think they have so much good shit over there. Like they do a lot of things really well over there. Like for example, Sam, you watched the Challenge Cup game this year between Saints and Castleford, and you told me you hadn't watched the Super League game for about maybe 2 or 3 years, and you said you watched the Challenge Cup game. You said that was one of the best games you've seen probably throughout the year.
all year, man. It was definitely one of the best games, and it was noticeable how different the refereeing styles were as far as the 6 again rules go. Super League is a good quality game, but I'm the least qualified to talk about Super League in amongst you three gentlemen. But once kickoff comes next year in February, look out, mate. I'll be bloody watching it. I love rugby league, and
Only
I'll get into Super
44
League.
days away until the Super
Yep.
League returns. I'm counting down.
Yes, sir.
Cannot wait. I can see in the chat, the Gold Coast Titans fan says 2018 Storm 38-4 against Leeds. Yeah,
Good.
that's because Leeds
Yeah.
came over here and they had a pretty depleted team. But if you have a look in history, bro, Leeds have beaten Manly over in the World Cup Challenge. Wigan fucking destroyed Cronulla when Cronulla won their first premiership. You get a lot of competitive games over here. You really do. There's a lot of Super League teams go well against the NRL teams. I guess it all depends on a few things, but we need more of this international footy, NRL versus Super League. It's fucking awesome. I love it. I really love it. I gotta say, you guys probably remember as well, waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, watching the game at 6:30. You know, getting up early in the morning, watching the game, like, oh yes, NRL, Super League, World Club Challenge. You know, like how good is it? Like it's fucking outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've used to finish my
brilliant.
bloody night shifts. And I think I finished at 6 a.m., come home and just fall asleep watching Super League for sure, man. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Absolutely outstanding. All right, let's move on to topic number 1. Now, we all know the All-Star game happens in February. It happens before the trials, I believe. It happens before the trial period. Pretty sure it's before the trials start. I could be wrong. Pretty sure it's before the trials. Indigenous All-Stars superstar Latrell Mitchell apparently won't be allowed to play for the Indigenous All-Stars due to being suspended until round 3, which is NRL suspension, but the All-Star game's a little bit different to how the NRL works on their suspensions. I guess the question is, should Latrell Mitchell be given an exemption to play in the All-Star game, or should he remain suspended until round 3? I'm going to ask you first, Sam, what do you reckon? Should Latrell be allowed to play?
No, absolutely not. He could fight and argue. Someone could make the case that instead of reappearing in round 3 of next season, make this All-Stars game one of the games that I miss out on, and he returns for South Sydney in round 2 against Melbourne. He caved in Joey Manu's face, mate. And look, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Latrell Mitchell is my player that I'm watching with eagle eyes next season, mate. I want him to win the Dally M. I want him to have an amazing season, mate. But he's got to keep a lid on it. He can't go lashing out, and he can't have any excuses anymore. I mean, if you want to be the Aboriginal leader in this All-Stars game, man, and somehow you've usurped your suspension and you're leading that pack, and you're going to have the cameras on you while you're standing in that middle of the circle looking proud and whatnot, and that's fine, but it's not a good look, man. It just looks like someone's ducked and weaved their way into the spotlight, and they're not quite deserving of it yet. Latrell Mitchell should serve his suspension if he wants to, or if somebody could, as I said before, instead of reappearing in 2022 in round 3, try and argue and make the case that you reappear in round 2 because you missed the All-Stars clash. But no, I think Latrell Mitchell needs to serve his time, bro.
All right, well said. ProEnzo Vidz. Should Latrell Mitchell be given an exemption to play in the All-Star game? What do you reckon, bro?
No, like, why bend the rules for one player? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, obviously what he did last season was wrong, and he should serve his time. Like, what makes one player have to play a game when he's already got a suspension ongoing currently? It doesn't make any sense. I know, because he's one of the most popular Indigenous players in the game, but still, he's suspended. When you're suspended, you can't play. It's simple. It's not that hard to get a read on. So for me, he should not be allowed to play, and that's all you can really say, to be honest, because anyone with a brain would know that he shouldn't be allowed to play because of his suspension and whatnot. So yeah, I think leave his suspension in place and yeah, shouldn't play.
All that Champa, what do you reckon, bro?
Yeah, he shouldn't play. I mean, he's suspended. We shouldn't bend the rules for him, because if we bend the rules for him, other players who are suspended who can't play games like State of Origin, All Stars games, international games, trial games, even maybe. You know, I don't know if that rule applies for trial games, but
Nah, you'd be
everything
suspended
else
for
it
trials
does.
too.
Yeah, you shouldn't bend the rules for one player. I know he's an elite player. I know having him in the Indigenous All Stars will not only be good for his side, it'd be good, you know, television wise. Everyone wants to see Latrell Mitchell play, but you know, can't bend the rules for one player. You know, he's suspended and he needs to just serve his suspension. So I am going to miss watching Latrell Mitchell play in the Indigenous game, but at the same time, there's not much you can do about it. He's suspended, and that's just the way it is.
I think Latrell Mitchell should serve his suspension. I don't think he should be allowed to play in the All-Star game. I think it will give an opportunity to another young Aboriginal fullback like Dane Laurie or the Hammer from the Cowboys. So it just goes to show that when Latrell Mitchell did that stupid thing on Joseph Manu, you got to think long term. Maybe he shouldn't have done that. Maybe he should have pulled out when he could have pulled out. I mean, if you go back and watch it, it was pretty bad. But he's got himself to blame for it. It's obviously sucks for Latrell. I want him playing in the All-Star game because it's the All-Star game, and we all know how passionate Latrell Mitchell is to the Aboriginal community and the culture. But unfortunately, if you're going to do the crime, you're going to do the time. And Latrell Mitchell broke the rules and he's got to serve the suspension. And I don't think there should be an exemption for him. From what I understand as well, there's apparently there's going to be this big petition online coming out very soon about let Latrell play and all this.
Nah, turn it up.
I don't think that is going to make much difference.
Come
I'm not
on.
going to sign the petition. You do the suspension, you do the high tackle, you got to serve your time. It is what it is.
I want to hijack you for a second and get your opinion on this
go
too,
ahead.
lads. Fair income. Latrell Mitchell, let's not forget that like a year ago or 18 months ago, he and Josh Adokar were shooting out in the gun range as well. That only happened last year as well, around the All-Stars time. And I just want to ask you about Latrell Mitchell, man. Is this his biggest year coming up, or is this just going to be just another sort of, I don't know, shine in the spotlight sort of year?
I
for
think
Latrell
he's under a
Mitchell?
lot of pressure this year now because with Souths, with not having Adam Reynolds anymore, Latrell Mitchell's going to have a lot more involvement on this team. And obviously, Cody Walker will be the one to go to, but Latrell Mitchell will be goal kicking in 2022. He'll probably be playing fullback again. There'll be a lot of pressure on him next year. I think it might be probably his biggest year. Yeah, I probably agree with you, Sam. Probably is his biggest year now, going into 2022. ProEnzo Vidz. So it is 2022 Latrell Mitchell's biggest year.
Why not? I'd say it is because, I guess he's the fullback and there's no, I guess to start off with, there's no Reynolds. So I guess he has less support now. So he has to be one of those players who do a lot more and has more of a role in the team.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Because I guess, this is like his 6th or something year in the NRL now. So obviously he's more of a leader and he's someone that has to play a bit more part in that South Sydney team. So yeah, it's going to be a year for Latrell Mitchell to kind of work with and hopefully goes well.
It's Latrell's 5th year. I think he debuted in 2016, around the middle of the year. So it'll be his 5th year this year. And I'm with you, Sam. He does have a bit of an attitude problem. I have seen games where if they're down by a try or two and the game's pretty much gone, and like he'll grab someone by the shirt and he'll slam on the ground and he'll get angry, and he does have to fix up his discipline a little bit. But when he's on, he's a fucking elite player, man. He's a quality player when he's on, but he needs to fix up a few things like discipline-wise. So wish him all the best next year. All that Champa, mate. Before we move on from Latrell, do you think 2022 is going to be his most important year?
Yeah, it's going to be one of his most important years. Rabbitohs have let go a lot of good players, and one person that is going to lead the the Rabbitohs is Latrell Mitchell. So he needs to get his act up, stop doing stupid crap like he's doing. And he needs, because I'd say right now, he's probably one of the most important players, if not one of the best players in the Rabbitohs side right now. And it is very crucial for the Rabbitohs that he keeps a good act, clean name with no suspensions and no outside drama, and just play good footy. Because if he plays good, then his team plays good, and we all know how good the Rabbitohs are when they're playing top footy. So this is one of his most important years. I'd even say he would probably need to win a premiership for the Rabbitohs in the next few years. He needs to be that important asset.
That's the thing, Champa, bro. If he didn't have a brain explosion and cave in Joey Manu's face, if he plays in that grand final, South Sydney, man, I don't know, bro. I think they probably pip him. I think Latrell Mitchell's aggression and size probably gets them over the line, bro. I don't know, man. If Latrell Mitchell played in that grand final, and I know we're dealing in hypotheticals now, I know, I'm sorry, but boy, howdy, man. They probably do win the premiership if Latrell Mitchell plays.
They do win if he plays. Simple as that.
He's a game-changing player. There's no doubt about it. If he's in that side, dare I say, the Rabbitohs could have won that grand final. But, that didn't happen. And, well, hopefully next 2022 clears his act up. He could lead Rabbitohs into a grand final. He needs to have a good year. And I don't mean by that by rugby league. I mean by that as being just a good person.
Yeah, well said. Also in the chat, Latrell Mitchell, Paddy G writes in the chat, Latrell was very popular and hasn't been the best role model, but he is held to such a high standard and is treated very unfairly, but still shouldn't be allowed to play, but count in towards the charge. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it should count as a suspension and maybe come back on round 2 or something. I do agree with what you said there, Paddy G. Absolutely agree. All right. Now, that's all the topics done, but before we go, I want to talk about the Super League for a little bit. Now, the Super League is in about 44 days. Now, that's about 6 weeks away, I think. February 14th, I believe, or February 10th is the first game. It's not far away at all. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through each team and we're going to pick out one player to keep an eye on for 2022. So it can be a great player, it can be a shit player, it can be the best player. Doesn't really matter. But this is just one player that I want you guys to keep an eye on for the Super League 2022 from each side. Whether you reckon they're going to have a good season or what, it doesn't really matter. But let's go into it, and we're going to start off with St. Helens, the back-to-back champions. They've won 3 in a row, looking for 4 grand finals in a row. St. Helens. ProEnzo Vidz, who was one player from St. Helens that you are going to keep an eye on in 2022?
Yeah, so for me, it's my favourite St. Helens player as well, and that is Regan Grace. I think Regan Grace is an absolute freak of a player. Just his speed and just the way he scores tries, nearly every match. He's a very safe player, I think, as well. Like you get what you expect from Regan Grace. His skill and just and he's consistent as always. Like I think he would be someone that I think will go well in the NRL. That's in my opinion only. But yeah, for me, he is someone I'm looking forward to for my club, St. Helens, in 2022, without a doubt.
Yep, fair call. All out Champa, mate. Who did you select?
I actually went the same with ProEnzo. I feel like he's going to have a really good season, and yeah, he is another player that I'd say I would love to see in the NRL one day. So yeah, that's my pick for St. Helens.
Regan Grace, yeah, good call. Well, I actually went with the fullback Jack Wellesby. Jack Wellesby scored that try in that famous grand final the other year against Wigan on the bell there. I think Jack Wellesby now, he's going to be playing fullback for the whole year for Saints now with Lachlan Coote moving on to Hull Kingston Rovers. I think Jack Wellesby is a great signing. Well, he's a great player coming through. So he's one player that I'm going to keep an eye on for St. Helens in 2022. Sam, if I'm not corrected, you only chose one. You only did one, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't have enough time to go through all the Super League teams, unfortunately. But I will say that person to watch for St. Helens is Will Hopewade, mate. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting how he goes.
Will Hopewade is definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll see how he goes over at St. Helens. All right, the Catalan Dragons. One player to keep an eye on for the Catalan Dragons for 2022. ProEnzo Vidz, mate, who did you go with for this one?
For me, I went with Mitchell Pearce, the new signing. I think Pearce is going to have a good year at the club. I think as well, like last year, Catalans went really well. Obviously, Maloney was a big part of their success, and obviously he's not going to be there anymore. So I reckon Pearce is going to be the guy who does a good job by stepping in, and let's see if him being there makes them go one step better than what they were in 2021.
Yeah, good selection there. All out CHAMPA. Who'd you go with for Catalans?
I went with Mitchell Pearce as well. I'm so excited to see him at Catalan. We don't know how much of a good caliber player he is. And, man, he's just going to lead Catalan as well. I'm pretty sure James Maloney was there as well. My Super League college
he's
isn't that
gone now.
great, yeah. So, I feel like that's the great replacement for Maloney, and that's Mitchell Pearce.
I've gone with Dylan Napa, big puppy. I think Dylan Napa needs to go over to England. I'm glad he's gone over. I think he can get some form back over there. I think Dylan Napa's always been a really strong front rower, and I think going over to Catalans for a couple of years will be really good for Dylan Napa. So I reckon he's a player to keep an eye on for Catalans in 2022. I think he'll have a really good year at the Dragons. All right. Sam, anyone at Catalans that you reckon is going to go all right?
That's it, but for sure. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Warrington. The Warrington Wolves. ProEnzo Vidz. Who do you reckon is going to have a good year for Warrington this year coming?
I picked George Williams. I think Williams has gone really well since he's came back to the Super League and being with Warrington. I think he's done a really good job. I think, he'll definitely be a big part of their success again. Williams, quality halfback, and definitely someone you can always rely on. So, yeah, I reckon he's in for a good year. I really do think that he will go well.
Well said. What about you, all that CHAMPA for Warrington? Now, that's your team, isn't it? You go for Warrington, don't you?
Yes, I do. And, man, I think me and ProEnzo must share the same minds because I went with George Williams as well. Man, we're on a roll together. But, George Williams. We all know how much of a good player he was when he was at Canberra. Amazing player. He's got the future in front of him. And, man, Warrington are going to have such a great future in front of him with him in the halves. Yeah, George Williams is an excellent player. And, yeah, I'm excited to see him with the Warrington Wolves. That's it.
Sounds good. Well, I've actually gone with Oliver Holmes. Oliver Holmes used to play for the Castleford Tigers in the back row. He's just signed with Warrington. Oliver Holmes, in my opinion, is a quality second rower. He would do really well over in the NRL. Oliver Holmes is a player to keep an eye on. He's been very good for a while at Catalans. He's gone over at Castleford, sorry. He's gone to Warrington for a different bit of a change. I think he'll do really well. I hope he partners up with George Williams. That would be a very lethal combination. I think Oliver Holmes is in for a big season at the Warrington Wolves in 2022. Sam, anyone for Warrington you reckon is going to have a good season?
Well, I suppose if George Williams is to have a very good season, Gareth Widdop needs to help him out in the halves. So I guess you've got to say Gareth Widdop for sure.
Gareth Widdop's in for a big year as well. I'm with you on that one. All right. The Leeds Rhinos. Leeds are a team that's looking like we're going a bit under the radar for 2022. A player to watch out for Leeds next year. ProEnzo Vidz. Leeds, mate. Who'd you go with?
I picked Aiden Caesar. I reckon Caesar's going to, again, have another strong season, I reckon, because I think overall Caesar, I think I've always been a fan of him, to be honest. I think he's always been a quality halfback that can ice a game at any time. So I'm looking forward to him as well. I think he'll do well for Leeds. Yeah,
well said. All that CHAMPA, mate. What about you for Warrington? Oh, not Warrington. Leeds, sorry.
I went with Blake Austin. I'm pretty sure he's off contract by the end of 2022. That's why the talk about him going to the Dolphins is up. But Blake Austin, excellent player. I think he might partner up with Aiden Caesar as well for Leeds.
Yeah, they are.
But So I feel like Blake Austin, great player. We all know how good he is, and with Aiden Caesar, yeah, it's going to be a great year for Leeds, and like you said, a bit off the radar.
Yeah, I think they're a team under the radar going in to
Yeah.
next year. I've actually gone with Cruz Leeming. Cruz Leeming is a fucking gun. He is so reliable, this bloke. He plays hooker. He can play in the halves here and there. He's such a gun. I'm a big fan of Cruz Leeming. I think he's a player of the future for the Leeds Rhinos, and I think the NRL teams might even have a good look at this bloke because I reckon he's a gun and definitely a player to keep an eye on for 2022. What about you, Sam? Who do you reckon
Yeah.
to lead?
Yeah, looking at the side now, man, gee whiz, it's not a bad looking pack. I mean, Reece Martin had a breakout year, I think this year or the year before. So he should be in for another good one next season, and it'll be interesting to see how David Fusitu'a goes as well for Leeds Rhinos as well.
I keep forgetting that he fucking went over there. That's the thing with David Fusitu'a. I keep
True.
forgetting about the signing, but I'm with you, bro. I think both of them are actually going to be really good for Leeds next year, so we'll see how they go. Hull FC, the Black and Whites, Warriors NRL Fanatics' team, the Black and Whites, Hull FC. And I believe that's your team as well, Sam, Hull FC.
Mate, I got an announcement to make, mate. I'm going to choose Hull FC as my team to follow in the Super League. I see Brett Hodgson in as the coach, and I see Gareth Ellis is hanging out there as an assistant coach as well, mate. Gareth Ellis, bro, changed the West Tigers, bro, as soon as he was signed. So far as the players go, I'm not too sure yet. I'll just bring her up. If you want to go on to someone else, bro.
ProEnzo Vidz, mate. Hull FC, mate. Who'd you select?
Oh, this is pretty easy. I had Jake Connor. Jake Connor's an absolute freak, and the fullback for the club as well. I've loved watching him play. He's just an absolute gun in every aspect, I suppose. I can't, give it one example because there's a lot. But yeah, look, he's just a great player. I'll pick him.
He's an absolute fucking gun, Jake Connor. What about you, all out Champa?
I'm not sure if he will play starting lineup, but I actually went with Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, he'll be 5'8". Yeah, Josh Reynolds. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know how much of a great player he is. Him at Hull FC will provide a lot of experience for them, and yeah, man. I mean, great.
Josh Reynolds had a really good year this year too. By the way, he played really well this year.
Exactly.
I've gone with the Hull FC lock/back rower. I've gone with Jordan Lane. I think Jordan Lane's going to have a really good year. I really enjoyed him in 2021. I thought he was very good for Hull FC this year. I think he'll have another great year next year. He's a player to keep an eye on for the Black and Whites. Sam, who are you going to say, mate?
Yeah, I'll say Jake Connor, but I say that I'm not really ever seeing him play before, mate. And I hear so many good things.
You're in for a treat,
especially just then. So yeah, no, definitely, man. I'll just have to keep my eyes out for young Jake Connor.
You're going to have to go on YouTube, type up Jake Connor highlights, because he used to play in the centre. He used to play centres a while ago. Played a bit of 5'8" here and there. He's a fullback. He is a fucking gun. He's a player that I want to see come over here in the NRL. I reckon he'd kill it over here. But Hull FC, a team, if they can stay injury-free, they can do a lot of really good things next year. Let's go to their big rivals now. Hull Kingston Rovers, the Robins, the Hull KR, the Rovers. One player for the Rovers that you're going to keep a close eye on, ProEnzo Vidz.
Unfortunately, left my team, St. Helens, not long ago, and that's Lachlan Coote. I think Coote's going to go really well for the Rovers. I think ever since he came to St. Helens, I've always thought he really suited us really well. Like, he seemed very comfortable in playing with the rest of this team. And, obviously Kingston Rovers, I think he'll suit him pretty well. And I hope for the best for him, first of all. And, I reckon he's a player to watch out for the new signing for the Rovers. He should be good.
Good selection. Lachlan Coote is a very good selection to go with. All that Champa, mate, who do you reckon? All that Champa, are you there? I think his screen's just frozen for a second. We'll get him back on in a second. We'll go to you, Sam. Who do you reckon for Hull KR?
Is it fair to say that after this past season, that Hull KR are actually coming into the Super League with a little bit of hype around them?
They are. They had an incredible year in 2021. as you know, I chucked the multi on in the semi-final game against Warrington, and I had Hulk KR to win and keep Warrington scoreless, and up winning about $1,200 off it. So,
Yo.
remember that night? Well, I think that was the same night where the Storm played the Panthers in the preliminary final, and the Panthers beat them.
Yeah.
It was that morning.
Wow.
So I remember it like it was yesterday. But who do you? Yeah, they do have a fair bit of hype with Hulk KR.
Well,
who do
I
you reckon?
guess I'd have to look at Corbin Sims, mate. I guess,
Sims.
yeah, just keep an eye on him. Not suggesting that he could have a breakout year, but it's just, yeah, I'd just keep an eye out for Corbin Sims next season.
Yeah, Corbin Sims is in for a good year, I reckon. I actually went with the halfback Jordan Abdul. Jordan Abdul's a gun, man. I thought he was very good in 2021. I thought he had a really good season. So I'm going with the whole Kingston Rovers halfback / 5'8", Jordan Abdul. He's a very good player. All that Champa, mate. Whole Kingston Rovers player to keep an eye on. Who do you reckon, mate?
Yeah. Firstly, sorry for the connection issues, but yeah, I'm going with Lachlan Coo. The player that just came from St. Helens. Like I keep saying, he's probably one of the most underrated fullbacks I've ever watched. He's a very talented player, quick on his feet, and even at the age he is right now, he's still tearing it up. I can't wait to see him play for Hull KR.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right, let's go to the Wigan Warriors. Wigan have lost a fair bit of players going into 2022, but on paper, they still look like a fairly good side. One player to keep an eye on for Wigan in 2022, ProEnzo Vidz.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting one because he only just came to the club not long ago and he came from my team that I support in the NRL. That's Cade Cust. I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes. I think it's too early to say, but I've already heard people say, "Oh, look, he's in contention for Mansfield," but he hasn't even played a game yet of Super League, so I wouldn't really go into that hype just yet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes. Obviously, he's Hastings' replacement, I assume. So
yeah.
I reckon he's a good player. Like I think he's a handy player as well. He can play hooker, half, and I like that at Manly. So he should go well for Wigan, I reckon.
With all due respect to Cade Cust, he wouldn't even be in my top 5 contenders for Man of Steel. He wouldn't even be in my top 5. So good luck to him. I think he'll go all right at Wigan. So there's a lot of pressure on him now with Hastings not there. So we'll see how he goes. But good choice, Cade Cust. All that Champa. One player to watch out for at Wigan next year.
Yeah, I went with Cade Cust as well. I heard a lot of people saying he's going to win that award. I personally wouldn't put him in that list, but Cade Cust, very talented player, most likely going to replace Hastings, like you guys have been saying. And I'm really keen to see how he plays. I always thought it was all right at Manly, and he'll do fine at Wigan. So yeah, Cade Cust.
I've gone with John Bateman because when John Bateman went back to Wigan at the start of the year, John Bateman was very he wasn't himself. He was a bit quiet. He wasn't really involved in the games as much as we've seen him in the past. So John Bateman was a little bit disappointing in 2021. I think next year he'll be a player to keep an eye on, and I think a lot of people are forgetting about how good John Bateman can be. So I think John Bateman will be in for a big year in 2022 for the Wigan Warriors. What about you, Sam, for Wigan?
Yeah, just as a brief glimpse, mate. There's not too many names that stand out to me, but Zach Hardacre, number 3, the centre. He's he's been around a fair while now, from what I can remember off the top of my head. So I guess go for the tried and true and check out Zach Hardacre all year next year.
I thought he had a good year this year, but I think he needs to be playing fullback. He can't be in the centres. He's got to be at fullback if he's going to play. So I'd go with that's a good choice there with Zach Hardacre for Wigan. All right, let's go to my team, Salford. Come on, Salford. Looking for a big year this year. Our last good year was 2019 when we made the grand final and lost to Saints. But ever since then, we've fallen off a bit of a cliff. Come on, Salford next year. A player to keep an eye on for Salford in 2022. ProEnzo Vidz, mate. Who'd you go with?
Yeah, so I went with Kristen Inu. I think Inu's a very solid
not there
player.
anymore, bro.
Isn't he?
He's gone.
How about Junior Sa'al? How do you say his last name?
Junior Sa'al's gone as well. Tim Laffey went over there. Brody Croft.
Oh, I'll say Laffey then. Yeah, okay, Laffey. Laffey's been around for a while as well. I think he's nearly 10th season in the NRL, so I reckon he'll go all right for Salford, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how he goes.
I'm not a fan of Tim Laffey, as we all know, but good luck to him at Salford. I'll give him a chance. All that CHAMPA, mate. What about you, mate? Who'd you go with for Salford? Keep an eye on.
I went probably one of my favorite forwards that I like to watch, and it's I always have trouble saying his name, Sitaleki Akuola.
Alakafala, yeah, I know you're talking about. Yes.
Man, when he was at Warrington, I'm pretty sure he was. Man, he was one of the most scariest runners I've seen. And even when he was in the NRL, man, he was such a great player. And it's great to see him at Salford. And I reckon, he's going to have a great season for you guys, man. You guys picked up a great forward.
We needed to get fucking someone. We had Darcy Lussick. That was a fucking fail. We had our captain, Lee Mossop. He retired, so we needed someone to go in the front row, and Alakafal was a great addition. So I reckon that's a good choice that you chose there. I have gone with Callum Watkins, and you guys would be familiar with Callum Watkins. He was the England centre in the 2017 Rugby League World Cup for England, and he had a terrible injury when he came over to play for the Titans, and when he came to the NRL, it was a bad idea because the Titans were the worst team in the comp back then, and it's a bit hard for a centre to be very good with a shit team like the Titans. But Callum Watkins, I think he's got over his injuries now. I think he's fit, ready to go, and I think he'll have a fucking huge year in 2022. So Callum Watkins is my player to keep an eye on for Salford next year. What about you, Sam? For my team, Salford, who'd you go with?
Ex-North Queensland player Shane Wright. He'll be the defensive player of the year for your club next season, mate. 100%.
Shane Wright.
Yep.
Now, Shane Wright is a weird one because when he's on, he's proven that he can be a very good back rower, but he just chooses to be in and out of games every now and then. So
it's his defense that puts him onto the first grade stage. And it's just his attack, man. There's just no bloody dimension to the bugger. So if he can develop something in the off-season with Salford,
we've got a half pairing of Brody Croft and Mark Sneed. So if Mark Sneed can get him into some, get him in some direction, that'd be good because Mark Sneed's an experienced halfback. So he'll be able to get Shane Wright into some space and get him a couple of chances there. But I think Shane Wright's a good choice as well. I think that's a good call. Hopefully Salford do well next year. Fucking better. Anyway, let's move on to the new team that's coming to the Super League, Toulouse, the French team, Toulouse Olympian. Who's one player that you guys are going to keep an eye on for Toulouse next year? ProEnzo Vidz.
I picked nobody because I don't even know the cunts yet. But anyway,
Fucking hell.
if they play more games, I'll know. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, I don't blame you. They are a bit of an unknown side to lose, but all that CHAMPA, what do you reckon?
Look, I'm not familiar with them as well, but I have chose someone. I went through their list and went through some of their highlights. This Chris Hankinson, pretty sure that's how you say his name. He's caught my eye. I've seen a bit of his plays. He's an all right player, and for a team like Toulouse who are new to the Super League, a player like him will probably be a good asset to them. So yeah, Chris Hankinson.
I went with former St. Helens back rower and former Warriors and Titans player Dominic Peyroux. He's back rower now. I think Dominic Peyroux will be a great addition for St. Helens. I guess Mitchell Garbet's another one who used to play for Leeds as well. I reckon Dominic Peyroux will be a really good addition for Toulouse, and I think he's one to keep an eye on for Toulouse in 2022. What about you, Sam? Were you able to choose anyone?
Mate, unfortunately, I'm coming up with duck egg at the moment, but I will say that isn't the derby between Catalans and Toulouse going to be something good to watch next season?
That'd be fucking huge. That would be fucking huge. Can't wait for that. All right, let's go to the Huddersfield Giants now. The Huddersfield Giants have pulled a fucking Bulldogs. I've gone on the market and bought every fucking player they can find. I have literally bought everyone that they can find. The Huddersfield Giants. One player to keep an eye on for them. ProEnzo Vidz, what do you reckon for the Huddersfield Giants?
Yeah, I went with a former St. Helens player, and that's Theo Farge. I think, yeah, I've always liked him as well. Like, I think he's always been a really good player that's been around in the Super League for a while, and obviously a new recruit for that club as well. So I hope he can go well, and yeah, and that's a perfect example. I think they are on a spending spree at the moment, like the Bulldogs. So I think Farge is a good player, and he'll go well for the Huddersfield Giants.
I think that's a good selection as well, and I'm actually going to agree with you, ProEnzo Vidz. I think Theo Farge is also going to be a good player to keep an eye on for Huddersfield in 2022. There'll be a lot of pressure on him, though, going from a quality Saints team to the Huddersfield Giants. There'll be a lot of pressure on Theo Farge, but I think he'll have a good season as well. I'm really going to keep a close eye on him. What about you all out, Champa, for the Huddersfield Giants?
Yeah, all three of us going Theo Farges. I wasn't familiar with Huddersfield as well. I'm still fairly new to Super League myself, but I watched a bit of his highlights, and yeah, he seems like a really talented player. So a great
Definitely.
asset for Huddersfield, and yeah, it'd be really good for them.
Definitely. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, just overlooking their team now, man. I mean, it doesn't look like that he'd even crack the 17 at the moment, but Nathan Peets, mate, that's
He'll
a
be in the
name that
17.
sticks out.
He'll be there.
Yeah, true. Okay.
He'll get there.
Yeah, Nathan Peets is a name that sticks out to me, bro.
I think Chris McQueen will be another one that everyone should keep an eye on. McQueen's always been a good player. Just hasn't been used the right way, I don't think. Yeah, well, we all know that. But Huddersfield Giants they've gone to the pub, they've poured out the money, they've gone to the casino, and they've just splashed the cash on everyone they can find, really. So interesting to see how the Giants go. Yeah, they've went out and bought everyone they can find. It's fucking unbelievable. All right, let's go to the Wakefield Trinity now. Wakey, one player to keep an eye on for Wakefield in 2022. ProEnzo Vidz.
I hope he's still here. I think who I'm going to go with is Kalipi Tanganoa.
Yeah,
I guess
he's still there.
Right? Yeah. All right, good. Yeah, I've always liked Tanganoa, I think he's a very underrated player. Like, just the way, I've seen highlights of him many times, just the way he carries the ball, and just, he's a very destructive back row. Like, he's not the most biggest front row in the game, but he's like, I guess he knows how to make a line break, which is a good thing. He's got those speeds. So I think he's actually in for a big year if he can get it. Consistent game time, so I'm going with him, Tanganoa for sure.
Sounds good. All that Champa. Who'd you go with for Wakefield?
I went with Tom Lineham.
Yes, Tom Lineham. Yep.
Yeah, very good player. I watched a lot of his highlights when I was making this list, and he really stands out to me. Wakefield, a team that I'm starting to know a lot well, and Tom Lineham really stands out to me.
Wakefield are on the up apparently, but we'll see how they go. Tom Lineham is a good signing for him. I definitely agree with that. I've gone with Mason Lino. Mason Lino was pretty good for Wakefield in 2021. I think he'll go one better in 2022 and have even a better year. I think he's a player to keep an eye on. And if Wakefield are going to do anything in 2022, Mason Lino will have to be their top 3 player on ground most games. So Lino for mine is one to keep an eye on. What about you, Sam, for Wakefield?
You just bloody pinched it from me, and I just want to say that I liked Mason Lino when he was with the Warriors, bro. I really liked the cut of his jib. So if he had a good season with Wakefield last year, awesome. And therefore, I hope he has a great year in 2022, man. I like Lino.
When Mason Lino went to Newcastle, he was supposed to be the 5'8" there, and I guess it just didn't work out for some reason. He's always been a very solid player, Mason Lino.
Yep. Agreed.
Always been good. He didn't go to the Super League because he wasn't wanted. It's just, I guess he wanted to go over there and prove everyone wrong and be like, hey, you should have fucking kept me when you had me. So Mason Lino, very good player. And the final team, the Castleford Tigers. One player to watch from the Castleford Tigers in 2022. ProEnzo Vidz. Who do you reckon?
He's getting a bit older now, I suppose, and obviously, he's not going to have the most biggest impact. But I thought Paul McShane. I think why not? He's a steady player. He's a good dummy half as well. I've always thought, he did a job every time. I think his service from dummy half has always been very good. Like, he never makes any errors either, so that's a good thing about him as well. So yeah, I reckon McShane. I really think
Paul McShane is probably the Castleford Tigers' most important player. He won the Man of Steel in 2020 for a reason, and I think he is one of the elite players, Paul McShane. So that is a good selection there. All that Champa, mate. Who do you reckon for the Castleford Tigers?
Castleford Tigers. Let me just pull up my list again. Where did I have it? Castleford Tigers. Liam Watts. I went with Castleford Tigers.
Experienced
I
front
feel
row,
like
yeah.
he's a good front rower. Great ball carrier, and I feel like for the Castleford Tigers, he'll do well this year.
I think he'll be a good addition to him, and I think that's also a good guy to select. I have gone with the Castleford Tigers 5'8", Gareth O'Brien. Gareth O'Brien can play fullback and 5'8" really well. He's a very versatile player. He's probably more of a 5'8" now, but he can play fullback if there's injuries. I think he's a great player, Gareth O'Brien, and he's one to keep an eye on for the Castleford Tigers in 2022. Sam, who'd you go with for the Tigers?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not too familiar with Castleford by the looks of things, but I do like Sasai Feki, mate. I thought he was outstanding when he was at Cronulla. So, yeah, I'd like to see Sasai Feki do well next season.
Hopefully, Sasai Feki is all good from his injury, and hopefully he can play again because he's a fucking good player when he's on. But, guys, I reckon that might do it for the podcast. I want to give a big thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the video, guys. Manscaped.com. The Lawnmower 4.0, guys, is a great shaver for your balls. It has new skin-safe technology, so you don't nick your balls. The package comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, the ball deodorant, the ball toner, and other great stuff for the month of December as well. Guys, go and check out manscaped.com. The discount code is right there on the screen, NFA. Wow, what a show it's been. Sam, ProEnzo, and All Out CHAMPA, mate, thank you so much for the podcast for 2021. It was fucking awesome. I enjoyed tonight.
Yeah, so did I, man. Really good, man. No, you're right. It was a really good show tonight, and thank you so much for bringing it up to us yesterday, bro. And look forward to next year, mate. Gee whiz.
Oh, it's been a great year with the podcast. It's been fucking amazing. ProEnzo Vidz, mate, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I just want to say it's been good bringing the podcast in this year. It's been a real success, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it happen next year. So yeah, thanks to Sam as well for being another member of the podcast. And I think his addition's been really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more of it next year.
All That CHAMPA, mate. Thanks for being a guest as always. I really appreciate your time tonight. You've been very good as always, and you're welcome on the channel at any time, bro.
Thank you for having me on. And but before we end things up, I just want to say a special thanks to just every YouTuber, every NRL YouTuber on the rugby league, in the rugby league community. When I started doing YouTube this year, I thought it was going to be one of the toughest things I've ever done. But with support from you, Nick, from support from ProEnzo, from Sam, and from everyone in the rugby league community, I've managed to grow my channel, and I feel like none of it would have been possible without you guys. So just a fucking big thank you for everyone that's
thank
just
you
supported
very
me.
much.
And
I just want to thank all of the people that watch the podcast, the people that watch all the videos that we do. I want to thank everyone for what they've done this year. It's been fucking amazing. I want to say to everyone out there that watches my channel, I want to say I love you guys. You guys are fucking outstanding. Without the people that watch the channel doesn't happen. As simple as that. And the channel's going places in 2022. I've got a fucking brand new camera, which I look clear as day, look outstanding. I've got a microphone now. I'm going to be getting better things in 2022. I'm going to be getting a nice little mic stand like this. I can sit the cunt on there, so I'm having to hold it all the time. I'm going to be getting stuff hung up on the wall, a nice TV on the wall. 2022 is going to be a fucking huge year for the channel. It's going to be a huge year for the podcast. It's going to be a phenomenal year. Also, I want to thank Sam, ProEnzo Vidz. You guys have been fucking awesome this year. It's been awesome working with you guys. And 2022, we are going to make this the #1 podcast in the rugby league community. I'm going to fucking work my ass off. We're going to get this fucking YouTube community we're going to make it bigger than ever.
That's the way, mate. That's the way.
Watch out,
Bring it
Bloke in
on.
a Bar. We're coming.
I don't know about that. Bloke in a Bar's way better than us, but Bloke in a Bar's, they're all legends in their own right. But we're going places in 2022, and this channel is going to get bigger. And ProEnzo Vidz, Sam, All Out CHAMPA, your channels are going to grow as well. They're going to get bigger as well. And thanks to everyone for all the support this year. Also, I want to thank guys like Entertain House, guys like Trevor from Shut the Gates, guys like Paddy G, guys like Rugby League History, Warriors NRL Fanatics, guys like Wise Brisbane Broncos, guys that have come on the channel, CJ Moxley and all that. People that have come on the channel throughout the year as well as special guests as well. I want to thank them as well for what they've done as well in 2022, taking the time out of their day or night to come on and be a guest on the show or whatever it may be. So it's been a phenomenal year. And also, I want to announce really quickly as well, I'm not going to confirm it, but there is a possibility that the Nick from Australia Late Night Footy Show could happen this week on maybe Thursday night. There is a chance Thursday night, the Late Night Footy Show could be happening. I'm not going to confirm it yet. I've got to work out the details and the times and all that. But there is a possibility that the Nick from Australia Late Night Footy Show could happen on Thursday night. If not, definitely by the weekend at some stage. But guys, we are getting out of here. Hope you all have a fucking fantastic day tomorrow. Hope you all have a great fucking Wednesday. I'm getting out of here. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a phenomenal Tuesday night. And we will see you guys again for the next one. The podcast will be great in 2022. Sam, ProEnzo, Vidz, all that CHAMPA. We're signing off. Guys, have a good night. See you guys in the next one.
That's it, guys. Stay strong, stay safe. All out CHAMPA.
That's it.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, ProEnzo. Thank you, CHAMPA.